Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome, folks, to another Hungry Gamer Game of the Year nominee show spectacle! I guess it's not really a spectacle, because, nothing's happening. In fact, I didn't even put in any boring, lame iMovie transitions here to make it look cool, like this, or maybe even this. Nope, none of it. No spectacle. Really, it's just a thing. But I am going to add something new this year. And this year, I decided I'm also going to add in an expansion of the year nominee. So we're going to jump right in and start with the expansion of the year nominees. And these have been randomized completely. And, well, quite frankly, I actually don't know what the order would be, assuming I do fully order these. And I just rolled some dice to get this order. So don't read anything into this. And the last thing I'll say before I start is every single game that is nominated here is going to get this glorious seal, which they can do whatever they want with right there. But as always, I'm hoping it is a tattoo on the small of their backs. Anyhow, jumping in, the first one on the list is Chaos in Copperforge, which is an expansion to Battle for Greyport from Slugfest Games. And this is a deck builder that I've really enjoyed. It's a cooperative adventure deck builder, but it just does away with cards that you're going to get into your deck to help you buy more cards. I just never liked that, and it's not in there, and it combines this deck building adventure with dice chucking. So all of that is just really, well, that's really what I'm looking for in a game. So I really enjoy the game to begin with, but this expansion gave us some new characters and some characters that I really, really, really love. I really want to have in my game, so that was very exciting to me. And it added some interesting new mechanics around some of the types of bad guys you're able to face. And just all in all, it just improved everything in the game, I think. So Chaos in Copperforge is the first nominee. The second nominee on the list is Revive Call of the Abyss. Now, if you remember, Revive last year was actually a Game of the Year nominee for me. And this expansion, to me, is better in every single way. Everything this expansion does makes Revive a better game. And it's actually possible that had I had this expansion kind of with the game last year, it might have finished higher on the list. The next expansion nominee is Furnace Interbellum. And Furnace is another game that actually made my Game of the Year list in the past. And the new expansion makes the solo experience a little bit better, but it adds just a little bit more complexity to the game, and like with Revive, I never want to play Furnace without the Interbellum expansion. And so to me, that just screams this is a really good expansion. Next one on the list is from Cosmic Frog, and that is Find Muck. And this is one that I didn't know I needed anything else at Cosmic Frog, because I thought it was just this chaotic, wacky, insane, dice-chucking, chaotic mess of delight. Then Jennifelli added the Find Muck expansion, which added some new powers. It added this mental combat. It added a new way to actually do your combat with chips instead of dice, and just all around very, very clever. And the core stuff of this game is stuff, again, that I never want to play without. There's some other bits and pieces in there that are a little more modular, but the core stuff, like the mental combat and all that, I never want to play Cosmic Frog without that again. And of course, there's new powers, all of that. Very, very cool. The next one on the list is Warp Gate Beyond. And this was very close to being a complete redo of the game Warp Gate. And I enjoyed Warp Gate. It took me a little time to get into it, but I really enjoyed it. And so I backed this expansion, which I thought was going to just be something so I could play it solo. But what it's done is it took everything else about the game and it just improved it. It sped it up a little bit. And so again, I actually literally can't play this game without the expansion because I replaced all the cards. But it's another one that really took a game that I enjoyed and makes me want to play it more. And then the last one on the list, yet there's 6 nominees here, is Uprising, Curse of the Last Emperor, Titans of the First Age. And this is a huge, massive game. This is more huge, massive expansion stuff. But what this one does is it just takes a couple of the things that were very challenging about the original game, and it just adds in little bits that suddenly make some of the really hard challenges you face in the game a little bit more manageable. And on top of that, more factions and some really cool game trays and all that kind of stuff. So Uprising, Titans of the First Age, another really good expansion. And again, all of them are going to get this lovely seal right there. Now, moving into what you actually want to hear about, and this is the Game of the Year nominees. And this year we are back to having 5 of them, though I do have 2 honorable mentions I'm going to talk about. So before we get into the Game of the Year nominees, let's quickly talk about my 2 honorable mentions. And of course, they're also going to get a seal that they're probably going to do nothing with, right? But they're going to get it anyway. So the first one is a game called Catharsis. And this is one that I wasn't interested in it initially because it is a huge box for what is actually a relatively small game. But I was recommended to the publisher to cover it, and he asked me if I was interested. He gave me the opportunity. I said, you know what, let's do it. And yes, the box was still too big for me, though. In the recent campaign, you can get a smaller box. I actually got rid of the box, and I made my own little box. But this is a game that is just a delight. It's an adventure. It's dice chucking. It's so fast. It is such a fast experience. It feels like a combination almost like Too Many Bones and the way you're flipping up the cards and you're having different traps and fights and what you're doing and Dice Throne. And they just kind of come together in just a very satisfying way. And it just falls into the honorable mention for me because it's not, because while it is a very fun kind of adventure dungeon crawly style game, it doesn't have kind of the carry through that I'm looking for in a adventure dungeon crawl game, at least for my Game of the Year. Let me just be clear with that. I really like this game and I play it a lot, but for me, adventure games, I want story and narrative going through, and so that's why this one just falls into an honorable mention for me. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun. I have no complaints about the fun of the game. It just didn't quite make it into the top 5 for me this year. But Catharsis, honorable mention. Definitely like it. I like the game enough that I've put in money to have a character created that I get to create. And that says something. I don't throw money at things like this, usually. Actually, ever. I've never done it before. But here, I enjoyed it enough. I liked the opportunity, so I did that. So that tells you how much I enjoy this game. And then the other one is what I think might be the best Euro that was released this year, and one that no one's really talking about. And this one falls into an honorable mention because it doesn't feel right for me to actually nominate it. And that's because, 1, my brother designed the game, and 2, I helped work with the publisher to get media coverage for the game. I didn't design it, I don't get royalties, but I was hired to help collect reviewers for it. And that is Lunar Rush. It's a really good Euro. It's a cube pusher, but it's a cube pusher in space. But what it's doing is it's a fast game. It says on the box 45 to 75 minutes, and that's actually true. You can actually play a 4-player game in about 75 minutes, maybe even faster. It's got some interesting modules to keep it interesting. But what it's doing is it has this delightful bit of timing. It's a game that's really about timing. Making your choices of getting resources from the Earth to the moon, getting your things to sell from the moon back to Earth, and the whole time you're trying to figure out, am I going to send a lot of stuff slow or it's a little bit fast, and you're trying to guess how's that going to hit the market, because maybe you want to send just a little bit fast so you can get the best price at the market, or maybe you just want to wait and assume maybe the market's going to recover later on and you're going to send down a whole bunch of stuff slow. It's very, very clever. A lot of clever worker placement going on. A lot of clever tableau building going on. But I work with Dead Alive guys. My brother designed it. Cannot be a winner. Cannot be a nominee. But I do want to acknowledge that I've been telling people this. I think this is the best Euro no one's talking about. This is one I think that is a game that people who like Euro should be playing. I do think if this was just a Euro list, I would probably have to consider putting it on it. Nepotism be damned, because it is really, really strong. So, there you have it. Now, let's get right into what really matters. The top 5 games of the year. And as always, all the nominees are going to get this lovely boom seal that's going to look great on the small of their backs. And what's going to happen is I'm going to spend the next month or so, a little bit more, playing these 5 games again to try to really order them and figure out which one is tops for me. So again, completely random order. And I'm gonna play them. I'm gonna come back in December. I'm gonna have my list completely ordered, and we will know who the winner is then. So again, completely random order here. First one is Kinfire Chronicles Night's Fall. And this is one that I got to do a preview of, and they sent me a base copy of the game. It was very kind of them after the fact. And I've been doing a playthrough series of this game. And I really, really dig it. I love the art. I really enjoy the card play. It's very, very simple, but there's this lovely teamwork aspect to it as you're kind of one character's playing actions, other characters are kind of boosting those actions. And there is a fun for me and there's a really interesting initiative system that for me playing solo is awesome. Now, I know people playing 4 players don't like it as much, but for me playing the game solo, it's just so exciting and fun and kind of like the Cosmic Frog initiative. So I really, really am enjoying that. And when I covered it, I was like, okay, this is a cool game. But now that I've gotten it and played it a few more times, I'm really, really digging it. This one to me is definitely a surprise to be on the Game of the Year nominee list because I thought it was a good dungeon crawl. And I figured, okay, something that'd be like top 15 dungeon crawl for me. But this is possibly a top 10 dungeon crawl for me. Of course, I got it after I made my revised dungeon crawl list. So it's really, really cool. I really enjoy it. Next one on the list is Expeditions from Stonemaier Games. And this one really surprised me. One that I liked as much as I did to begin with, because I was interested in it, but I wasn't sure, and I got to play it with another content creator, and I really dug it, and then Stonemaier was nice enough to send me a copy, and I've really enjoyed it. This is a game that, well, it just sticks in my head. Like, I want to play it. I painted the mechs. I got the metal coins. I blinged out my copy. And it just takes away the part of Scythe that I really didn't care about, which was the conflict. And I'm not conflict averse, but the conflict in Scythe that just never excited me. But I liked kind of the engine building that you were doing. And I liked the exploration vibe. And I liked the gathering of the stuff. And this kind of takes that feeling, and the art's great, the production's great, and you're moving around and you're building out this tableau, but this tableau you're building is unique every game. It's really cool. And it's one that just kind of sticks and festers at the back of my brain. And I'm really, really digging it a lot. And this is the second one on here that's really a huge surprise to me. I did not expect to be on this list at all. Now, interestingly enough, the next 3 on the list here are ones that are not surprises to me that they wound up on the Game of the Year list. And so the first one of these is Theurgy. And I've been talking about Theurgy for years. And it finally got to me in, I think, January of this year. And it's everything I remember it being. It is such a delightful game to play multiplayer. It's the troops on a map, area control game that is for me. It's just made for me. I really enjoy it. I like playing it solo. I like playing it at 2 or 3 players. I like playing it 4 player, 5 players. All the range, it works really, really well. I don't love it at 6 players, but that's it. I don't love the game at 6 players. It's just such a cool game. It's not the easiest game to find right now, but there are copies out there, and it just is one that I've been talking about it for years, and I still really like it. I had a prototype that I played 40 times. And then I finally, years later, got the actual copy, and I'm still playing it a lot. So Theurgy really, really has held up for me over the years. Really enjoy that. Next one on the list is technically an expansion, but I put it here because it's just a whole new game. It's a whole new game, and the only reason it's an expansion is because you use some components from the original game, and that is Tanaris Adventures from Arena the Contest. And I always liked the Arena the Contest kind of combat system, the ease of it, the interesting different characters. I've always really enjoyed that, and that's why I was on my initial top dungeon crawler list. But the Tanaris Adventures has an interesting story going on. It's revised a lot of the way the combat works in a very interesting way to me. I really find it satisfying. The core combat's still the same. The characters are interesting. This has a significantly more interesting story, and it has this really cool kind of town building phase in between each adventure, and it just really works for me. It's a breather, you're doing something different, and it's fun. The only problem I have with it is it's a little bit too short. I wish that was longer as well. So Tanaris Adventures makes it onto the list. And then the last one is probably the least surprising one because it wound up as because it roared to number 1 on my dungeon crawl list this year, and that is Tales from the Red Dragon Inn. I love the Red Dragon Inn universe. I love the characters. I love the zaniness. I love the wackiness. And they finally brought it together in a dungeon crawl that, production-wise, I think is really, really strong. I like a lot of the choices that they've made. They've done stuff that is different than most dungeon crawls. It's really satisfying to play. I love the characters. I love the growth. I love the story. It's really, really good. So there you have it, folks. That is my 5 Game of the Year nominees. And I actually don't know how this is going to shake out until I go back and I play them all. I look at these, I'm like, oh, okay, I think that's the order. And then I came back and I looked at my list that I had written down earlier today, and I'm like, no, that's not the order. And so it keeps changing. So we're going to see what it winds up being. But there you have it, folks. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.